Do I see a thumbs up? All right, very good. All right. I'd like to call to order the February 2nd, 2026 Committee of the Whole regular board meeting of the State College Area School District Board of Directors. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance if you are able. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone joining us this evening, both in person and those joining us remotely. The board held an executive session on January 12th regarding personnel. Board members, with the agenda before you, do you have any changes? All right, very well. Before we begin tonight's agenda, we have one housekeeping item to take care of prior to roll call. On January 20th, Dr. Rob Lozon was selected to fill the unexpired term of Ms. Gretchen Brandt until the November 2027 election. At this time, I'd like to call on Scott Eder to swear in Dr. Lozon.
Please stand. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of our Commonwealth, and I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity. That was a little bit longer. Welcome. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you, Scott, and welcome to Dr. Lozon. We are 9 again. The board looks forward to your contributions. I would now like to call on the board secretary, Ms. Tressler, to conduct a roll call of the board members.
Dr. Anderson.
Here.
Dr. Bader.
Here.
Dr. Barlow.
Here.
Ms. Black. She's online.
Oh, she's online.
She's there.
Yep.
Dr. Dino.
Present.
Ms. Damaris.
Here.
Ms. Huff.
Here.
Dr. Lozon.
Here.
Dr. Miller.
Here. All right. We'll begin with communications and the president's update. Christine Merritt will retire in June after 31 years with the district. Ms. Merritt was hired in August 1995 as an English teacher at the Park Forest Middle School, and in 2025 also became coordinator of the Professional Development School, a year-long student training program in partnership with Penn State. In 2009, Ms. Merritt became a high school associate principal for curriculum development. She served as a high school English teacher and English coordinator from 2011 to 2019. Ms. Merritt joined the central office in 2019 as secondary curriculum director. She became interim supervisor of secondary education in 2022, and finally supervisor of curriculum and instruction K-12 in 2023. In 2025, she became a member of the cabinet. We appreciate Chris' long-standing service and her deep commitment to teaching, learning, and the continuous improvement of our district, says Curtis Johnson, superintendent. Throughout her career, she has contributed thoughtful leadership in classrooms, schools, and the district, helping to strengthen curriculum and instructional practices at every level. We are grateful for her many years of dedication to our students and community and wish her all the best in retirement. I have a special letter that I would like to read. From Andy Merritt, Chris Merritt's husband. He says, Christine Merritt represents all that is good in the world of education. For nearly 35 years, she wakes up with one mission in mind: how to make the lives of all she works with and for better. I saw this personally from her first day as a teacher, starting her career in Horseheads Middle School to her work at Park Forest Middle School, at State High, in the Penn State PDS program, and now as a senior level administrator. Her creativity in and out of the classroom is inspirational, whether it be using music to teach Romeo and Juliet, or using her special mind-reading bedazzled hat. Learning became real, relatable, fun, and enjoyable. She organized a reading auction to encourage students to read, culminating in a real auction with a local auctioneer. Chris was one of the driving forces in the creation of RAK, R-A-K, beginning with a student that needed warm clothes and a hand up during the winter months. That single act of kindness has turned into thousands of students getting a boost in the toughest of times. Chris did not just educate students, she challenged them. She made them want to learn. Her students became her kids, and she never gave up on one of them. The stories of her pushing, pulling, and dragging students to graduation are many. For Chris, a student quitting was a loss that was too painful to accept, and so she would not accept it. She made certain that students did not accept it either. Christine Merritt reminds us all why we do what we do and why teachers teach. Not just passion and love for the subject, but more importantly, passion and love for her students. She is an educator for all the right reasons, for making better people. There is no doubt that Christine Merritt has left the educational world and the lives of every person with whom she has interacted better than when she found them. So thank you for that, Andy. At this time, I'd also like to open it to board members if there's any additional messages you wanted to share. No? Okay. Okay.
As the longest-standing current board member, I've worked with Christine for 10 years. And so when I started, she was working as the English coordinator and has since progressed to the head of our whole curriculum department. So I certainly concur with her partner of her commitment to students. She's certainly always been helpful to board members, helping them understand history and context and how oftentimes we found ourselves in different situations or why certain things have gone the way they have, and that's a really important lens for board members to have oftentimes as they move forward to make different decisions. So I always appreciate her insight in those ways and wish her so much happiness and joy and creativity, because I know there are some creative things in retirement for her. So thank you for all your work, Christine.
I have gotten to know Christine Merritt in CCL, and even though I don't have the length of time as Amy, I just want to say how much of a North Star you've been and how grateful I am to have learned from you. And so thank you very much for your service, and you will be deeply missed. Thank you.
Thank you. I can say for myself, I actually met Chris Merritt when I was a student at Park Forest Middle School. It was not recent, but I was never one of her students. I was a student of her husband, Mr. Merritt, but I could always tell that they were a team they shared the same passion for learning. They shared the same passion for pushing their students forward. I've seen that carry through at all stages of your career as I've paid attention to it, and I really appreciate everything that you've done for this district and this community. All right. So thank you, Ms. Merritt. The board thanks you for your service, and we wish you all the best in retirement. At this time of year, the board reaffirms its commitment to the Pennsylvania School Board Association's principles for governance and leadership, and we do so by posting them for the public in the boardroom with our signatures of commitment affixed. PSBA developed these principles into a policy. Policy 011 was approved by the board at its April 11th, 2022 meeting and is a set of guiding principles that frames the key work of the board. In adopting this policy, the board affirms its commitment to adhering to these principles and also to use them when evaluating the board's functioning and performance. Therefore, the SCASD School Board of Directors agree to collectively and individually act in accordance with the following principles: advocate earnestly, lead responsibly, govern effectively, plan thoughtfully, evaluate continuously, communicate clearly, and finally, act ethically. The details of Policy 11 can be found on the district's Board Docs website. At this time, I'd like to call on Mr. Johnson to share his superintendent update.
Thank you. The district is now accepting new student registrations for the 26-27 school year for kindergarten or any other grades. Please visit our registration website for details. A special welcome to our class of 2039 students. This only applies to new students currently not part of the district. If your child is already enrolled in the district, there is no need to re-register. State College Area High School was recently recognized by the College Board as a Silver School for the AP 2025 School Honor Roll. This is a wonderful improvement over last year's Bronze School designation. This recognition reflects intentional school-wide efforts to welcome more students into rigorous coursework and build a strong college preparatory culture. The dedication of our teachers, counselors, and administrators, students is clearly making a difference. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Johnson. I would now like to call on Lily Selensky, the high school student representative, to share this evening's student update. Lily?
Thank you, Dr. Miller. State High students did an amazing job at speech and debate blue, maroon, and white tournament. Many of our students won awards, and the team got first and second in overall sweepstakes. Our Park Forest Middle School and State High Technology Student Association teams recently competed in the Region 8 TSA competition at Cambria Heights SD. PFMS TSA students were outstanding in the middle school division with 15 first-place wins, 18 runner-ups, and 13 third-place finishes, and the State High team earned an incredible 29 first-place, 17 second-place, and 12 third-place finishes. State High FBLA members competed in the regional contest at South Hills School of Business and Technology, and outstanding 46 students earned first-place finishes in their events, and 90 members qualified to advance to the Pennsylvania State FBLA Conference. The State High Skills USA chapter traveled to Altoona for the District 7 competition. Their hard work, professionalism, and dedication truly showed throughout the day. 3 students earned gold medals and will move on to the state competition. SCASD Middle School students attended Keystone String Fest last week at Richland High School. They were able to rehearse all day with 7th, 8th, and 9th grade string students from around the region, including Somerset, Altoona, Bellefonte, and more. The day culminated with the concert that evening led by guest conductor Kelly Detwiller. Some students were selected to audition in front of judges, and 4 were selected first chair for their representative instruments. Agricultural science students recently celebrated the accomplishment of 11 State College Little Lions FFA members at the Pennsylvania FFA Midwinter Convention, held at the Pennsylvania Farm Show. Catherine Coopy and Jacob Everhart received Keystone FFA degree, the highest level of recognition a student can earn through the FFA in Pennsylvania. Congratulations to all the students on their wonderful achievements.
All right. Thank you, Lily, and congratulations to all those students. Absolutely. That's a lot going on. Jackie, do you have any legislative updates for us?
Just a reminder that we should be hearing from Governor Shapiro this week about his preliminary budget outline for the session. So you'll be hearing more about that at our next meeting. Okay. And there are plenty of workshops happening Friday, as well as Ed Voters is doing one next week to kind of dig into the budget itself. So if you've been interested in learning more about the state level budget in terms of education, let me know, and I'd be happy to direct you to any of those.
All right.
Are you following at all his recent, discussions about cell phones?
Yes, there's it's still in the Senate Education Committee, I think, or passed out of the Senate Education Committee, but it hasn't advanced anywhere beyond that.
Okay, good. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jackie. Jesse or Jen online, do you have any updates from COG?
Yes, because we canceled our last week meeting, I was able to go to the COG meeting, which is has its own kind of fate, I guess. The Council of Government summary, basically, they were introducing their new members, they were turning over leadership. Betsy Whitman in Patton Township is now the new chair of COG, and Denny Haymeister of Harris Township is the vice chair. That is based on a rotation among the 6 COG municipalities. It was basically Patton Township's turn. Now, the municipalities all introduced their newly elected members. Most of the official agenda was a list of routine consent items. However, one thing was not. Matt Herndon introduced a resolution on ICE urging the federal government to undertake meaningful reforms to immigration enforcement. The General Forum decided to refer this resolution to the Council of Governments Executive Committee for consideration in a future General Forum agenda. It will likely be on the February COG agenda. A similar resolution is actually on the agenda for State College Borough Council tonight. Disclaimer, I expressed an opinion, a favorable opinion of this resolution at that meeting. I'm going to, though, give you the disclaimer. I was expressing that as a citizen of State College Borough, not as a member of this board, and I was not speaking for this board in any capacity.
All right. Thank you, Jesse. Jen, did you have anything else? Probably not.
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, I do. Can you hear me?
Vaguely.
Okay.
There we
Let
go.
me.
There you go.
Much
You can hear me now?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So I wanted to report on the CRPR meeting that I attended on January 15th. Something of interest is Welch Pool will be getting replastered. That should happen around February. And CRPR is looking for several seasonal positions so that they can be fully staffed. Many of those include positions, lifeguard positions, camp counselors for many of their day camps. So you can check on the website as to see when those are posted. Also this Saturday, February 7th, from 3 to 5, there will be a winter carnival. I am 99% sure it's at Millbrook Marsh, but maybe not. I didn't write that down. Sorry. But I'll look at that, and if it's someplace other than Millbrook Marsh, I will text you during the meeting and you can announce that. They talked an awful lot about the Thompson Woods Preserve, because they've needed to do some maintenance with that. And in the coming months and years, you are probably going to notice, if you're familiar with Thompson Woods Preserve, it's kind of over by the big sled riding hill. Help me out. What's that called?
Slab Cabin.
Yes, thank you. Yes, over by Slab Cabin. So they have been, since it has opened, there have been a lot of invasive species, and they're trying to get the forestation management under control so that they can get vegetation that is the proper vegetation and not invasive vegetation. So just if you happen to be that way and notice a lot of vegetation disappearing, it's not that anybody is doing anything negative. They're trying to get it back to what it naturally should be. And let's see, they're also working with Penn State to develop more signage at the Thompson Woods Preserve. And I think that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
We now have time for public comment. Each individual will be allotted up to 3 minutes for items related to board business that are not a consent or action item this evening. For those items, public comment will be held just prior to voting on that item. If you would like to make a public comment, we would ask you to come to the podium. Please state your name and where you reside in this district. Do we have anyone registered ahead of time? I don't think. Okay. Is anyone present who would like to make a public comment this evening? All right.
Hello.
Welcome.
We good?
Yep.
My name is Cece Vaness. I live right outside of Greenbrier in Ferguson Township.
Okay.
And I'm a junior at State High. I'm here to represent the Speech and Debate Club as co-president. Last year, after being told I would be serving the most important community in my life, I was understandably ecstatic. In that same meeting, however, I was told two unfortunate facts. First, that all three of our club advisors required to run the club would be leaving at the end of the year. And second, that they were leaving because the workload was immense. Roughly 3 hours a week, monthly overnight trips, long bus rides, and supervising nearly 40 students at unfamiliar high schools for over 12-hour days. For all of this, they split a $3,000 stipend over the course of a year. That's just $1,000 per advisor. We could not blame them for leaving. Given the same choice, I think very few of us would stay. This problem returned again this year and will continue to return until we address it. For years, club presidents have tried to fix this issue to absolutely no avail. The lack of adequate compensation for advisors of a now over 60 paid member club is choking speech and debate at State High. Day after day, I have been privileged to watch our speakers and debaters grow. From first tournament jitters to winning the overall novice title and placing second overall at our most recent tournament, speech and debate continues to thrive despite these barriers. The activity provides invaluable experiences both in and out of school. According to the National Speech and Debate Association, students who participate in debate average GPAs 0.66 points higher and score 52 and 57 points higher on the SAT in math and reading on average. They also have I have seen this firsthand. Speech and debate regularly graduates Ivy League attendees and top 10% GPA students. Speech and debate means the world to students like me, and as a club with over 60 paid members, we have the numbers to prove that. As many of you may know, the advisor payment system is based off of points allocated for the club's population about 10 years ago. Our advisors still get the same amount of money that they did when speech and debate had 10 total members. We ask that this board reevaluate the advisor point payment system. Whether it remains tied to club population or not, speech and debate urges you to consider a model based on the hours and the duties of an advisor in a given year. Many clubs travel, yes, but how often do they travel? How many students? How do they even stay overnight? These are questions that students like me would ask you to consider as you revise this system. For the sake of students in speech and debate and clubs like it, we need change. Without a fair system, clubs experiencing growth will be strangled by their own success. This is the first year that speech and debate has ever attended a national competition, and we would really, really hope that it's not the last. Please help us fairly compensate our advisors and keep clubs like ours afloat. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Finesse. If you'd like to come up and make your, please state your name and where you're from.
Hello. My name is Madison Makita, and I live right outside Ferguson Township. I am also the Public Forum Debate Branch Captain of the Speech and Debate Club. I joined high school speech and debate club in my freshman year, seeking the skills to make me a better persuader and speaker. I found those skills, along with a community that shared my passions and goals. As a result, I thrived. I became public forum captain in my sophomore year, which I am a sophomore now. And every day I strive to recreate that same community that welcomed me and helped my classmates reach their full potential. I know our advisors and officers share this goal, but our efforts are increasingly blocked by financial obstacles. Our advisors are forced to leave due to the immense task of managing, paying, and registering our growing club and the unequal pay. Within my time in this club, which is about 1.5 years, I have seen 5 advisors go, which our advisors are not getting paid enough, leaving our officers scrambling to keep the club afloat. The funding for this club is based on data collected from when this club was just 10 people. Since then, it's grown to 60 members. Our members are missing out on opportunities to win awards, face tougher competition, and improve their skills. This club has sent students to Ivy League universities. Our members are intelligent, hardworking, and exceptional people, but opportunities slip past them due to our lack of funding. These people want to use their voice, and this club gives them that unique opportunity. This club trains the next generation to advocate for themselves and others, lead and use their voices effectively, and these skills are especially important today. But our voices are increasingly threatened by financial difficulties. We want our advisors to be fairly paid for the work they are doing. We want the financial burden faced by our members to lessen. We want the next generation of leaders and to be able to compete, learn, and get the same opportunities as equally talented students from other districts. Thank you for your time.
Right. Thank you for your comments. Other comments? Yep. Feel free to come up. Just please state your name and where you reside.
Good evening. My name is Wade Baumgartner. I'm a council representative here tonight to represent carpenters that live and reside within the school district and around the State College area. The reason I just wanted to bring up tonight, obviously, it's exciting to have a project such as Park Middle School coming up here with the construction that's going to be done. And I'm sure since the high school, this board has completely, or at least 50% of you have changed since the high school. But what I'd like to bring up tonight is there's some of you, along with the the management firm that's been selected has been given a copy of what we call PLA, Project Labor Agreement. Within that project labor agreement, it's regarding just the carpenter work only. This does not regard any other scope of work but the carpenters. So when I say that, it's the concrete, the metal studs, the drywall, things on that end. No excavating, no roofs, no block, masonry, things on that end. The reason we submitted that is we've been struggling in the area in regards to misclassified workers coming to the area. They are paid a lot less than the local wages. They do not pay taxes. They are 1099. The subcontracting tiers basically never end. We see the hospital project that's going on in our area right now, and there's been a lot of accidents, a lot of injuries. There's been a lot of misclassification on that project as well, and I don't want to see that with the State College School project. Within saying that, who are the Carpenters Union, right? So we represent over 1,500 carpenters in Central PA, and on top of that, what the PLA does, it allows our apprentices to be part of this project. We currently have 265 local apprentices that go to school locally, some who are from the State College School District. This gives them opportunities to build things right within their community instead of have to travel outside of the area. I feel that if there's some language that is adopted, which the county has recently adopted some language, an RCO language, along with the borough, and I think you, given the opportunities as a school board, can do this with this project. And with doing that, like I said, I think it will entice more bidders for the project. There'll be more opportunity for you as a school board to choose from. I believe that CM will see more opportunity. There'll be, even if we have contractors that are based in the Pittsburgh area, they still utilize local labor when they're a signatory with the union. So they would hire local people, even if that contractor is based out of another area. So I ask tonight, you as a school board have a choice, and I ask that you please discuss this amongst yourselves and maybe bring it to a vote to adopt local PLA for the upcoming project. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Baumgartner. All right. Would anybody else like to make a comment in the room? All right. Anybody online who would like to make a public comment? No? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment period for right now. Just a very brief update. We received this update from Jennifer Black that the 8th Annual Winter Carnival is on Saturday, February 7th from 3 to 5 p.m. at Blue Spring Park. So, all right. We will now move on to the Committee of the Whole portion of our agenda. I would like to call on Dr. Bucher, Mrs. Tobias, and several members of the high school faculty and students. They're here to provide an update for us on the PBIS, Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports Pride Coin Initiative. You handing out pride coins?
Don't be bashful. Come on.
Thank you. All right. Such pride.
No pride coin for you, Len.
What? They didn't give you one? Take mine. No, I have pride in you. Okay. That's right.
Thank you for hosting us this evening. We are here to talk about a few things, the culmination of our Pride Coin project from the high school, student leadership, and the video production that they're associated with the Pride Coins. So I'm going to turn it over to the team. I'm going to let them shine. I'm going to step away since there's a lot of people here. They can share their initiatives with our PBIS program and how it all interconnects.
Good evening. I'm really proud and excited to be here tonight to share with you our Pride Coin initiative from State High. This idea came about in the summer when we take a look at our PBIS program being in all schools. You're probably familiar from elementary school, you'll hear the word STAR, And in middle school, you'll hear the word roar. But our high school wanted to do some things differently. We have a student committee and we have a faculty and staff committee. We have a PBIS coach, Jen Evans, and we also have administrative liaison, Susan Hipp, who is here as well. So we wanted to take a look at a piece that we were missing, and that piece is that recognition. We didn't want the tickets. Students didn't want the tickets. It's a high school, and so we wanted to do things differently. I reached out to other schools. I was brainstorming ideas, and I have to give a shout out to Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Gross. Many of these students here probably know Miss Holly. She's my administrative assistant in the office, but he was the professor of military science for the Army ROTC program at Penn State before retiring in December. And we were talking about recognition and how do you acknowledge students? How can we get them something that says, we're so proud of you, we see you, we recognize you, and we're grateful that you're part of our community. He was willing to share with me all of his military challenge coins, which is kind of where this idea came from. I then got to see the beautiful array of his coins and began talking with Mr. Van Allen in his classes. Mr. Van Allen designed the first Pride coin that you see. I think maybe, I don't know if they're out and about. So he designed the very first coin. The idea is that we can recognize every individual in our community. It could be teacher to student. It could be teacher to teacher. It could be secretaries, janitors, bus drivers. It could be administrators. And students eventually to students if we had enough coins out within the student body. So we were very, very excited. And then we brought in classes. So this is kind of where we will probably go on, where students came, and it started with Nate. We have some student directors who created films to go along with our month themes. And designed these beautiful, they're just so talented. I could not do it, and I'm just so proud. So our IB film students from Nate Trinnell, Nolan Brodigan, Benson Lynn, Advanced Cinema students via Helling, Isabella Zeman, Allison Four, and Morgan Leitzel. And of course, the collaboration with Mr. Van Allen and Jen Evans and Susan Hipp, we were able to design a program. And what I want to do is kind of turn it over to the students because they are the ones who have kind of taken this and run with it and have a vision of how they want to recognize each other in our high school community. So I can't say enough wonderful things about this. For example, we just had a situation where a community member reached out and wanted to recognize some students. He was stuck in the snow, in the storm that we had, and 3 students stopped and helped him out of the snowbank in his car. I can't say enough about that. You're taking care of our community as well as our high school. This is just one example of the many, many things that our students are doing, and we're so proud. What does it mean to be a little lion? This is kind of what this exemplifies, is giving to students who are doing the little things, right? When you say the power of small, it's sometimes the littlest thing that means the most to most people, and we're just so proud. So Mr. Van Allen and Nate, I'm going to kind of turn it over to them.
I think we'll let the video play first, and then we'll let Nate talk about his first video that he created. Make sure the sound is...
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Represent SC. Respect it, own it, and advocate for it.
Yeah, brotherhood. Definitely brotherhood.
Being resilient.
Commitment. Camaraderie. Yeah, my name's Chris Taylor. I spent 3 years in the United States Marine Corps and 20 years in the Army National Guard.
Yeah, my name's Chris Sackmar. I served in the active Army for just under 6 years.
My name's John Donahue. I was in the United States Marine Corps for 4 years active duty, and then I was in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard for 4 years.
My name is Beth Burnham. My branch of service was the Army Reserves, and I served for 8 years.
Honor, courage, and commitment were the 3 things that the Marines touted nonstop. Having the integrity to do the right thing all the time.
Both my grandfathers served, my father served, my oldest brother served. So I think being a veteran is not only kind of an acceptance into a wider community for me, but also kind of a family tradition. So after about a year and a half of training, I finally showed up to my unit. One of the first things that I was given was the challenge corps for my platoon. And then it was the recognition that I arrived. And so once you arrive, and then you become part of that team. So kind of connection to that brother.
I'm currently on the board of a nonprofit organization that raises money for veterans. Our biggest fundraiser each year is a race. In the race, we give out challenge coins, and we give them to the people who make a difference, the people who are really putting out for others.
Everyone who gets the coin carries it all the time. And then either the person who issued it or the person who received it can say, hey, here's my coin, where's yours? And you have to show it.
I think this Pride Coin initiative came out of a desire for recognition of all the great things, all the positive things that are happening here at State High every single day.
I think it inspires the guys around you to just step up their game.
Many times in schools, we recognize correcting the wrong things, offering up those corrections, and we don't celebrate enough all the good. So for us, I think it was our desire to create that simple yet meaningful, tangible item that says, you represent our values.
It's those people that are doing the work behind the scenes. Like they're doing the right thing even when nobody's watching.
You know, just these little things where they had an option to do the easy thing or the hard thing, and they chose the hard thing.
I think I'd want that coin to represent the recognition that you are doing the right thing for the people around you.
That they've gone above and beyond, that they're doing more than what is required. You know, when someone gives that to you, it's like they've noticed what I've done.
Recognizes the fact that you as a student matter. When you leave here and graduate, you're telling everybody, I graduated from State High and this is what we do. For faculty and staff, it's an appreciation for all the things that they do.
That we see you, that you're being recognized for what you're doing, and we value what you are doing within the school system.
Unity and kindness, having that theme, kind of gives everyone the same direction, a same focus. Unity and kindness, that's who we are. It's saying, I see you, I see what you do, you matter, and thank you, because you're part of the pride. Honor the pride.
There you go. Now it is. All right. There's not much I can say that hasn't already been said in the video, but something I think that is important to point out is that these videos, the 3 videos you're going to see, were made by students who are incredibly passionate about the work that they're pursuing. Not everybody here is going to be a filmmaker or even go into the creative field, but the lessons that we are learning in IP film, cinema arts, journalism, these classes are things that we're going to take with us for our entire lives. So to have this opportunity to tell stories of people, in this case, military veterans, but you'll see other cases ranging all throughout our school and from all walks of life within State High, of people who they matter within our school. And you might not hear those stories otherwise, but at this time in our nation, in our country right now, I don't think we look at the little people as much as we should. And recognizing people for just the good things that they bring to our environment, that's incredibly important. So yeah, that's all I have to say. Next up, we'll be playing November's video, Gratitude, by Nolan Brodigan.
I wish it had like snack bars. I wish it had like I wish it had like
I'm grateful that we have so many like club opportunities.
All of the really like cool classes that are very like specific to what you want to do. I'm grateful that our school is so big and there's so many different things to do here.
Grateful for all the art classes that we have.
Multiple lunch options.
Coffee. The variety of classes and it's an extensive arts program.
Academic opportunities such as like cinema arts and photography.
The diversity and inclusion.
The opportunity to be a little lion not only back then, and these traditions continue here at State High. The importance of teamwork hasn't changed.
When I was a student at State High, I had some really amazing art teachers while I was here that provided opportunities in the larger community.
It's really good how we've transitioned to offering more supports.
But we all know that State High is a really large place, and there's always people here that you can find that relate to you.
Working with teenagers who are getting ready to head out into the next phase of their life is such a unique experience. It makes me thankful that I get to be a part of that.
I've taught in 2 other school districts, and people are jealous and envious of all the courses that we have.
Students and teachers alike hold each other to high expectations.
We really try not to let anyone fall through the cracks.
We perform at a high level. You can see that.
Being a little lion means to me being part of something that's bigger than yourself.
Not only being one as a student, an alumni, and now also a staff member.
I get to be surrounded every day by teachers and admin and students who rise to a wonderful level of excellence.
Because of the possibilities that are created every day.
It is a hallmark of excellence.
So I guess, yeah, I'd like to say it starts off kind of with this negative tension or this buildup. And the reason that might seem odd at first, but the reason why I put that in there is because like just when you hear students and sometimes just out when you're in the real world, like there's a lot of things students complain about. It's something that happens, but I wanted to break that tension and switch to this positive buildup because one thing I notice, and when I really look at our school and look at the resources we have, the people around us, and even just the building, like how massive it is compared to like some other schools I've seen, there's a lot more that students and staff are grateful about, that I've heard them be grateful about, and that I've, seen them express through what they're doing, like clubs, activities, all the just extensive programs we have. I mean, we even have like an auto shop course, like that's pretty amazing. Some people have to like go and try to find jobs at local auto body shops to try to get that, but we have that right here in our school. And I just wanted to kind of highlight that though you might hear sometimes like students complain about things, there's a lot more that students are actually grateful about and that staff are grateful about as well. And I also want to thank my editor, Via, too. She did a lot of the work on that. Editors are like the behind-the-scenes people who, really carry a lot of films. So I just want to highlight that a little bit. Up next, we'll have Benson with his theme of perseverance and focus.
So a time that motivated me would be when I first started teaching, and I definitely felt like I was thrown into the meat grinder. There was just so much going on, but everyone around me in the math department was so supportive. Everyone came in to check on me all the time.
There'll be 1,000 obstacles every day. Know they exist, know they're coming.
And that means great things in the end. It can help you academically, it can help you socially, emotionally. Perseverance is critical, and we all need to embrace it.
Molly Workman has always had a special connection to the pool, and she's the #1 ranked swimmer in Pennsylvania's class of 2026.
I set goals for myself and I want to make myself proud. I want to represent State High with as much pride as I can.
For Chapman is a straight A student with a 4.6 GPA.
Doing homework late at night, waking up at 5 a.m. for practice.
She works hard, she asks questions.
Not every race will be a best time, but when it is, it's the best feeling in the world.
The kids who are best in math, whether we're in algebra, geometry, pre-cal, are not always the ones who are fastest, but they're the ones who are the most persistent.
Put your head down and grind through it.
Keep going with life.
Just gotta get up every day and keep going.
Stick to it. You'll be proud of yourself, even if the outcome is not what you want.
I pushed through it because it was what I wanted.
My friends inspired me to persevere.
One thing that motivates me are my friends.
This isn't an exercise in how smart I am, it's an exercise in how much I can persevere and be successful.
Hi, some of the strategies that my hardest working students use: prioritizing tasks, breaking them into smaller pieces, finding times to be productive.
You never know what opportunities will present to you.
Keep pushing hard, and when you get to your break or your rest, it'll feel all the sweeter.
We love this school. You have to allow yourself to fail in order to succeed.
That I need to rely on others.
Asking for help, keep working until it finally works out.
Tomorrow's work.
You can do hard things.
Keep pushing forward.
Failure is what is going to help you move ahead.
Don't give up.
Hard work and character can achieve. Today, this room, we are all here to celebrate you, all these female leaders and teachers in the district who could come this morning. I'm presenting you with a pride.
Okay, so I filmed this during the Mental Health Summit. It was a nice time to film because there was so many people, and I think the idea I was going for with this this video was there's so many people encouraging you to better yourself and to persevere. And though I might not be going into film or creative arts as a major in college, I think the most important thing is you can use your skills to improve the lives of other people, motivate other people, and get other people to motivate other people. And I think, yeah, this is what I wanted to achieve with a video like this. So, yeah, that's all I have.
So, like I said, how can it? So proud. Of all of these students, of Mr. Van Allen, our high school community, everybody who's been involved in this project. We're just super excited. We do have a student and possibly a committee who will be designing the next coin for next year. Every year the coins will be designed differently by students, for students. And we're really excited to kind of show that. We'd love to share that. We probably didn't have enough time to get our middle school and our elementary students involved, but we have given out and are probably giving out some coins to some very special middle school students this week for National Women's in Sports Week. So I just want to say thank you to all of them. And I have a pride coin for every single student here who has contributed to this wonderful project. I can't thank you enough. So thank you.
Oh, we gotta give him back. Okay. I see how it is. Fine.
There's a name for this.
It's crazy.
Thank you. Nate? Yes.
if I may add, we're not done yet. We have how many months of we have 17 weeks left in our senior year, and that means 2 more videos. From 3 more videos, it's going to be amazing. 3 more videos, so you'll see 3 more at the end of the year. It'll be good.
Yay, excellent. Board members, do you have any questions for them? Any comments you wanted to make?
I'll make a comment. Thank you very much for the film class, but also, whose idea was this, the coin?
It was mine.
Well, thank you.
Yes, and then with our community, our high school admin team, and then I couldn't say enough about Lieutenant Gross. Yes.
To follow that up a little bit, I have seen the Pride coins a little bit just throughout State High and the impact that they have had. And my own personal experience was getting to recommend one for a teacher and just getting to see her receive that. And she had gone above and beyond, and she thanked me for that, which was really funny because I should be the one thanking her, but just making sure that people know that they're viewed and appreciated in their day-to-day means so much. And beyond all of the impact that it has in our community, it also does something for mental health too. Like, they're just going out a little bit to make sure that people understand that we do see you, you are valued, we do respect that you're here. So thank you guys for all that you're doing.
Great. Thanks, Lily and Tim. Amy, go ahead.
I was just going to say, aside from all the wonderful things about the program itself, which is so great, I really appreciate the involvement of students in the monthly themes. You probably are familiar with the quote from Margaret Mead, who a famous anthropologist, who said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And I would argue that they do that through stories and storytelling. So while you may not be pursuing this as your career or other things, I have found that storytelling is the most powerful thing that has helped to see progress happen, particularly in this role. It's helped the community when they hear stories about what's going on. So I am so appreciative of the stories you're sharing about your other students, about your teachers, about the people that you spend all your days with every day, because I think stories are the way we all grow and learn to be empathetic for one another and learn to help each other make our communities a better place. So thanks so much for your storytelling.
Yeah. Jen had her hand raised. Go ahead, Jen.
Of course, I had to not be there today for this amazing presentation, which was probably better because I cried through most of it. It was just so touching and amazing to see all of everybody's hard work. I've already started a list in my head of teachers and administrators and students that I really want to make sure get a coin. So my question is, how does one go about inquiring on how to give a coin to a teacher if you're, say, a board member or parent?
You could reach out to me. We have a Google form that we ask you to fill out because we also wanted to make sure the why, right? Why we're giving the coin. And sometimes, too, it's reaching out to the parents of the student that we gave the Pride coin to let them know that we're really, really proud and your student matters in our high school. So please feel free to contact me and I can connect you with some Pride coins.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
You're
really
welcome.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any questions from over here? Comments? Yeah, go ahead.
Again, just to reiterate, thank you so much for doing this. Your talent is amazing. Whether you're on this, you're making it this behind the scenes, like you all, you're inspiring. Like I would give you more coins because you are amazing. I really appreciate this idea. I joked earlier and said, okay, I have kids with Star tickets. I'm not going to have to get a jar to fill Star tickets. And I was told no, so now I don't have to, or have a chain with coins on it. So I appreciate that so much. Nate, could you do me a favor? Could you turn around and look at your dad? He has been taking pictures of the back of your head. Could you just let him take a picture of you forward? This is important. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all. And good luck with where you go to college. And what you do after this. So you're already showing such amazing skill set. I can't wait to learn more about what you do after this and maybe show up in a video as an alumni.
Thank you. All right.
No.
I just want to say that it's been an absolute honor teaching these students, and they've been so talented, and some of them are going into film. But all the things that you saw in those videos, the special effects were created by students. So it's the editing, all the cinematography, even a lot of the music was composed by one of our students here. Where did she go? There, she's on this side over here. So a lot of all those aspects are student-made. It's really cool. And I'm so proud of them.
If I may reiterate one more time, the students behind me are, like I said earlier, incredible storytellers and creators, and I appreciate your kind words about all of them. I also can't leave this table without saying how appreciative I am. Miss Jennifer Evans, Mrs. Laura Tobias, and Mr. Austin Van Allen especially. The program we have at State High is one of a kind, and it wouldn't be possible without him, without them, this initiative. So let's give it up for them. Another round of applause.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah.
Have a good rest of your meeting, everybody.
That's right. Thanks, everyone. Next, we have Mike Fisher, Randy Brown, and Jeff Straub are going to join us for the Facilities Committee portion of our meeting. We're going to start with an update on the Park Forest Middle School budget, the money portion.
Dun, dun, dun.
So as we are nearing the finish line for the Park Forest project, it's important that we talk about the finances. So Mr. Straub has been working with Mike and I to understand where we are. Our contract with Crabtree has included a third-party estimator to give a double check to the work that Crabtree has been doing. Crabtree does keep up with the markets and talks with different contractors, monitors different bid packages and projects throughout the state. But also by bringing in a third party, we felt this time that it would help to just do a double verification. Our contract with Macero Construction Management also does the same thing. They're not only going to be on site during the project, but they're also working since December with the team to understand the project and what is in store and how we're preparing for all the phases of the project, including the estimating and the bid packaging. So I'll let Jeff speak to the document that's been presented for you tonight so that you can understand where we are in our process.
Okay. So the budget update this evening really is a summary of probably, up on the screen, about 2 or 3 months worth of work. And we've had a series of updates throughout the project on budget, and where we finally come to as we start to approach bidding is the final estimate. In the fall, the documents were completed enough that essentially all the materials, all the systems were shown on the documents. And while we spent the last 2 months doing coordination between all the different disciplines, everything was on the documents in the October-November time period. That becomes critical because we could then turn the documents over to a third-party cost estimator, as well as Macero Construction Management that the district has engaged, and allow both of them to create 2 independent budgets for the project. Those are now in. They actually came in through the holidays, and then we spent some time validating them between the two companies and creating a low and a high range between the contractors. We then took that information and incorporated that with, which is shown up on the screen. The construction or the project cost is not just the contractors on bid day, but it's all the miscellaneous construction contingency, financing for the project, permitting, design fees, FF&E as far as the furniture, everything that goes into the building. Those have now all been identified, whether of true hard numbers that have occurred or allowances that are in place for the project. Excuse me. With that, the two summary pages, the third and the fourth page of the document, we're not going to go through this all in detail, but more than open to any questions that you would have this evening. Each of these are backed up with easily 40 to 80 pages of detail. We're really looking at every single material, whether it's a ceiling tile, flooring, HVAC equipment, brick on the exterior of the building, site work, that allows us then to create the overall summaries for the project. These budgets will then be incorporated into the Act 34 booklet, which we'll be bringing forward to you in 2 weeks for review. And then that will ultimately lead up to the final Act 34 public hearing, and then the bidding of the project that we also will take place on February 16th. With an anticipated the following day, February 17th, going out to bid for the high school project. Some of while not a lot has changed with inside the building design as we've moved forward over the last 6 months, something that has changed substantially is the site work has evolved. It's become, quite frankly, a very complicated site. With a lot going on, as well as tying into the local infrastructure. That's probably the largest change that we saw in the budget was the site work increasing substantially as we incorporated the final components of the project. And with that, I think really open it up to any questions that you would have.
All right, I'll start over here. Questions about the budget projection? Go ahead, Deb.
Just on the topic of site work, one aspect that we've talked about recently with respect to getting approval from Patton Township was having the overflow parking at the old site. So do these estimates include the work that's going to be required to, if we're going to resurface that parking lot, or if we have to create a path from that parking lot to the traffic light? Like, do these estimates include that cost?
I'll respond to that, then you can add. I'll respond from the architectural side, and then I'll let Randy answer from the district side. We are not specifically making any changes to the actual, I think it's roughly 68 parking spots at the existing facility. One of the requirements with the township that's built into the approval process is maintaining those spaces, but they're not specifically part of the project right now. What is part of the project, however, is pathways, walkways, the retention that's occurring on the existing Park Forest Middle School side that provides access to that parking area that we spent a lot of time coordinating on.
It's a working parking lot now.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, the logistics of updating it while the building is still being occupied. So no, we haven't built that in. Also, I think that there is going to be a requirement by the township to have, or a condition to have the spaces there, as long as they're on that side of the property and available. They may not care exactly what the location is, and we can at least talk to them about that once we understand what the district is going to do with that site. So for right now, we will have, the plan is we'll use the existing parking lot. It wouldn't be updated until we understand more of the building and the site.
The only thing new is the actual ADA walkway around the retention pond that would be lit, and that would be captured in these.
And that's captured in these estimates?
Yes.
And how about the costs of the potential traffic signal? Or is that in addition to, because that's not really?
Right, that is not in these cost estimates.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
Okay. Other questions? Over here. Okay. I did have one just clarification question. I'm not sure you mentioned it. The difference between the top line number, the 152, and the Macero estimate, there's about an $8 million difference. If you don't mind just explaining about what that difference.
Yeah. And maybe that's a little bit more clarity and detail. So first you have the construction costs.
Okay.
And so that's your bricks and mortar, everything that's involved with the actual contractors. And that's the range between the 130 and the 144. But then on top of that, you have all the soft costs associated with that. So we have used that base number, the low cost, and then assigned all the soft costs that tie to that. And then I think we said I said within the summary memo, then on bid day, we would anticipate the bids being between those two numbers, and then we will adjust accordingly. But the soft costs pretty much are fixed at this time.
Okay.
Design fees really don't change. Geotechnical earthwork testing is pretty much done. Construction contingency, things of that nature are set in place, as well as permit fees. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
And then you will also see built within the Act 34 budget, there's also a component of that that allows fluctuation by the Department of Education. Okay.
So we've thrown the term Act 34 around a little bit. Does anybody want a little explanation? It was kind of a rhetorical question. Yeah, go ahead.
And thank you, Randy. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, so and we'll explain this in a couple weeks with the actual booklet. The Department of Education since 1973 has required that there is for any building that is adding more than 20% to it, or new construction for a school district must have a mandatory public hearing. And this is not part of whether the project is a Department of Education reimbursable project with the moratorium, but this is a state law. Every project with those requirements will have a public hearing. It becomes a little repetitive because, quite frankly, we have had many, many meetings with all of you and the community. You've done a great job of communicating that to the community. In the past, that was not always done. So this law was put in place so that there would be a public hearing, and there will be certain requirements of construction costs, detailing all the soft cost component of the project, whether it be construction, financing, all those components, and we will be following Department of Education guidelines. Some of it's going to be paperwork heavy, as well as descriptions of the project. And that will be roughly about a 30-page document. And it won't be as much about the renderings and what the building looks like. It'll be some basic floor plans, site plan, and then it will also be project justification through the feasibility study that all of you went through. For instance, looking at additions and renovations versus new construction. So really giving the overall perspective, and it will also tie into the district-wide feasibility master plan as well, just showing that the district is looking holistically, not just at this building, but how that affects then the entire district. Okay.
All right. Other questions or comments?
I'm just curious, is there a breakdown of the soft costs for food service? Because I understand that would be like permitting and all of that kind of stuff, but I'm curious what the costs are. Like, is there a breakdown somewhere else beyond this?
Yes, food service is actually on page 3. It's on bid day. We're projecting just under $1.2 million.
But for the soft costs, it says $45,000 here?
Correct. And that was for, under the soft cost, that's related to the food service designer. who worked with the team in the school district to develop the overall documents that will be bid.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, in that case, thank you, Jeff, for joining us here. Mr. Fisher and Mr. Brown are going to stay and continue with a review of our 10-year capital plan. Oh, and Joe. And Joe's here. Joe wasn't listed on here.
So,
And Mr. Vigili.
as part of the district-wide facilities master plan, tonight we are presenting the 10-year capital plan. Mike and Randy have been prepared this plan for us tonight, which they shared with me earlier at an earlier meeting. This plan will allow us to maintain our current facilities over the next 10 years. Randy and Joe will speak to the financing of the capital plan, including components in our current budget, as well as a multi-year projections. So,
thanks.
So I just get things kicked off here a little bit. Again, not trying to insult anyone's intelligence, but the master plan is actually multifaceted. We started with analyzing our buildings, and in part of that, we're also looking at not only their status, their capabilities, their structure, but also the amount of students that they can hold in our programming requirements, and so that we can look in the future and see how prepared we are for the enrollments of the coming years. What we also have been looking at is the 10-year capital plan. Each year there are different projects that we undertake to maintain our buildings. A lot of times we call those deferred maintenance, or we call them capital projects or summer projects. Those terms are all synonymous. That's what we're going to look at tonight. This plan, I believe, looks at it a little bit more aggressively to commit over the next 10 years. A lot of different work, but there's been a lot of work, as we're all aware, in our buildings, and we want to maintain it to the best of our ability so that we can avoid breakdowns and full structure overhauls that are needed in some of our buildings, like we're doing with Park Forest right now. We've also talked about athletics and playgrounds. And then, as we talked about just a few minutes ago, the current Park Forest Middle School structure. And then there's also another building out there, the Fairmont building. So as we have talked about the athletics program, as we've talked about playgrounds, tonight, this is another, like I said, another facet of this. We need to bring it all together and keep it in mind that there are some there are different pieces, different projects that we're working on, but we have to be able to finance all of them and understand what that entails. And in case anyone didn't tell those of you who are new to the board, this is where I call the rubber meets the road and tough decisions occur, because we talk about equity, we talk about equality, we talk about wanting facilities to be functional as well as comparable. It costs money, and we want to maintain, and we want to be forward thinking, but we need to really sometimes have some of those difficult conversations. So up till now, I think it's been really a great conversation and a great process, because we can dream and we can evaluate and analyze and try to really bring some continuity together. But some of this is going to be a little bit more challenging. What Joe is going to start off with is a presentation that almost 2 years ago he brought forward to us to talk about some of these financial structures as far as our capital projects and how we can move forward. So I'm going to have him repeat a large part of that presentation to you. We've updated a little bit, and then Mike will go into the 10-year capital plan and talk about, from a high view, the information that's in the memo that we'll show you in the presentation, and obviously we'll take questions all over the place.
Thank you, Randy. Just going backwards, if you would call it up, it's pretty much the exact same presentation. Factors that impact debt service capacity and capital reinvestment. The things that really affect us are the inflation on cost. As we know, what does an elementary school renovation look like 5, 10 years ago that we went through with some of those projects versus the wing that we put on to Mount Nittany Elementary School? The impact of interest rates. As interest rates have escalated, the cost of borrowing has become more expensive. Time value of money, length of money, borrowing capacity, all good questions. Now, debt is based upon historical prices, capital needs. The problem with that is when we're going and we're planning new future projects, we also have to price in inflations going forward. So when you're talking about a 10-year capital plan, which is being brought forward, 10 years ago from today, costs looked a lot differently than they do right now. And then 10 years from now, you have to think the same thing is going to happen. So capital reinvestment costs associated with maintaining facilities. Buildings and facilities will age. They do require a planned reinvestment strategy. There is an impact of inflation, like we talked about, and this creates a difficulty in forming the capital reinvestment replacement strategy. And this is why we spend so much time, and Mike has spent so much effort on getting the district-wide master facilities plan together. So how do we move forward? Again, this is 2 years old. Key component will be the outcomes and information contained in the master plan, which Mike will be going over. And all of these steps were taken into account in terms of informing what the additional cost and reinvestment strategy needs to be able to have facilities that are equitable, that are safe, and that meet the needs of the children in the district. So 2 years ago, we brought forward this roadmap. At that time, the discussion was about that capacity at that point and not the allocation of dollars. We are starting to move into the allocation of dollars. As we move through, and Mike talks more tonight about the assessment of the results in the district-wide facilities master plan, the next step after that will be working with administrative officials to inform the long-range funding strategy for these future capital projects to keep these facilities as they should be. And you're up.
All right. So, in the documents, the board docs, have a 27-page document in there, kind of outlines more in depth of what we're going to go into here with this PowerPoint. But we're going to hit the high notes, and we'll take questions then. So again, I put one of these together in 2021. And that's basically we've been following for the most part. That plan as far as deferred maintenance as we do our kind of our summer projects. Things come up, so we pivot. Kind of every year. But that's really our starting point. And what our goal with the physical plan is to keep keep kids in the school and keep kids comfortable. So we try to be preventative in nature, provide redundancy on systems that are critical, and our team does a pretty good job of that. So funding levels. So from 2021 until now, and kind of we put the 10-year plan in place in 21, projecting out till 2030. We were projecting funding levels in that $2 to $3 million annual range. So it's about $1.50 a square foot, reinvestments annually, which is what we've been operating on, and we can continue to do that. That's about the minimum I would feel comfortable with. Just kind of keeping major systems, up and running. I mean, if you look at the high school, for example, it's a heat pump system. There's 300 compressors throughout the inside the building. So there's a lot of equipment and a lot of equipment to to maintain. But that $1.50 a square foot, with some escalation, we could reasonably provide, keep kids comfortable and in school. So what we've done in this plan is really taken all the aspects of the facilities master plan along with a lot of the data that we've collected over the years, and kind of put it into more of a succinct document that talks about kind of funding levels, right? And this document, as you'll see, it's more, instead of that $2 to $3 million annual range, it's more in that $6 to $7 million annual range, or more somewhere around, you know, a little over $3.75, $4 a square foot kind of reinvestment annually. So we do provide some charts. There's some more charts in the actual plan, kind of funding by grouped by school, or, you know, athletics, for example, you know, per year, phased out. We also actually show charts funding it, you know, by different type: architectural, civil, envelope, you know, MEP. So we kind of lay all this out. And what we've done here, I mentioned this in the document, is that if you look at the master plan provided by, you know, Crabtree and Moore Engineering and their team, you know, they might have a lot of emphasis on getting stuff done, let's say, all in 27 and 28, because it needs done, right? That's not realistic. So what we've done in this plan is try to really smooth that over, so that we don't have a $20 million, you know, anticipated expense in any one given year. And we feel as though, as it's smoothed, it's very reasonable. So this has been actually vetted by, you know, my staff as well, that actually works on this stuff. So we feel it's a pretty good and accurate representation of where we are with needs. So a few of the things, actually, before I get into other capital needs, I want to just point out that the large jump in numbers is really attributed to kind of major overhauls at Park Forest L, Grays Woods, Easterly Parkway, and Mountain Indian Middle, right? Our concerns with these schools, not only that they're kind of like aging, right? The flooring is getting pretty rough, and the ceilings and that sort of thing. The casework is just, you know, it's older, it's been used. It's really the HVAC that's integrated within the classrooms of all these buildings. There's going to come a time very soon that we won't be able to get parts for these anymore, right? So we won't be able to repair them. They're integrated within, like, the casework of the classrooms, right? So there's an HVAC unit that casework is built around, right? And it's kind of integrated in that classroom. So yes, we can come in and we can replace that univent wholesale, but it will never look right sitting in the classroom with casework built around something else, okay? So as we look at the driving factors of going from that funding level we're currently at to what's kind of in the plan, I mean, those 4 schools and the impact of, like, a major overhaul internally are really what's driving that. Now, I should also note that we can never come in and to Mountain Indian Middle and do all the casework, flooring, ceilings, painting, HVAC in one summer. It's just impossible to do. So what we've done for all the schools is kind of stage that. There's a lot of thought that went into this on how we would stage bits and pieces of it year to year to get that done. So the plan, you know, lays out a plan to do kind of these major overhauls internally to these schools over the summer without impact to students. Ideally, the building is empty. We come in, we overhaul it, put kids back in, you know, and do it over a year, and it's all done. But without a place to put the kids, we're going to plan to do it over the summers. So just to give a little bit of frame of reference over the funding level, what's driving that, and the biggest driver, and then how we would plan to kind of stage that work.
And just so you know, since I'm the old timer around here, kind of at this level, I'm like, Mike, when Mike first sat me down and talked about this, I'm like, but Grace Woods is a new school. Park Forest was just renovated. You know, there was a project at Easterly Parkway 25 years ago. So it is time. It is reasonable. So it was good for me, and also bringing that history helps to put that in perspective. I mean, I also remember, you know, when I came to the district, the Mountain Indian Middle was the showcase of the district. Not that it's not a great building now, but we have the high school, and we're going to have Park Forest Middle School as well.
Okay, so some things outside of kind of this 10-year plan, because there's a lot of unknowns, and decisions are going to have to be made. So we didn't really include those. So we talked about, I've represented before at the athletics assessment from the facilities master plan. We have Fairmount, I want to talk about it a little bit, our current Park Forest Middle, then the bus garage as well. So athletics, you know, we have in the plan for maintenance items. I remember saying that, you know, our biggest need right now is our varsity baseball field, as far as getting some money into it. That kind of stuff is already in the 10-year capital plan. Things like replacement of the turf at South Track, or, you know, cleaning up some of the track and field stuff that needs done. You know, those maintenance type items we accounted for. So in the $75 million approximately over 10 years, that kind of stuff's in there. What's not in there, as will be discussed when we talked about athletics, is maybe a major overhaul of community field, right? So I bring this up. You know, this was kind of the one option 3 from the plan, which is kind of the higher echelon of plans. You know, add another 11 to 12 million to the 75 over 10 years. Okay. I did include in the provided by our athletics department in the actual documents. There is some comparables to some other peer schools. Of, you know, kind of what their playing services looked like, just for your reference. Fairmount. So right now, we'll be coming to you later tonight with to get approval to do abatement at Fairmount. So we get that started, and what that is, I can speak to it now. I've said it before. Is that's really abating everything that is visible and known about. So we aren't opening walls up. For example, because if the building does get built out, there may be walls that don't get moved, right? In which case, everything just stays within the wall, and that's perfectly acceptable. So we wouldn't have to actually abate it until we tear the wall apart, for example. So this step of the process is really getting everything that's out in the open and is known, and regardless of what we do to the building, somebody has to take care of it. So that's really what this project is for. Will be coming later tonight. So we have temporary. Go ahead.
I have a question. Earlier in the sort of this funding list, when you listed Fairmount, you only listed that $180K that you needed to get rid of the asbestos. Where does the $2 million fit into that funding by building for a year? Or the abatement funds?
I'm not sure where you're getting.
Okay, you have a table.
Yeah, so I'll get to that. Yep.
Yeah. That puzzled me a little bit. First of all, I looked. You know, it would be great if $180,000 would take care of everything that we have to do to Fairmount, but I didn't anticipate that kind of miracle.
Well, okay, I'm almost there. So anyway, so the first step is really getting some of the abatement out. Now, if we do any kind of remodel to Fairmount, there will be more abatement coming. But we're not going to do anything until we have some sort of plan forward about what walls are coming down, what walls are not. Okay. Right now, we have temporary heat in the building, along with some smoke monitoring. So if there is any instance, we actually are covered more than we were when the building was occupied. So we're going to have, obviously, contractors in there if it gets approved tonight over the next few months. And then our staff is checking on the building. We're in and out. This temporary heat and the status of where it is right now, really buys us a year or two, okay, until other decisions are going to have to be made about what are we going to do with the building, or at least get it stabilized. So when you're talking about the $2 million, rough order of magnitude costs here, I have $2 to $4 million in, which is what we would recommend after a year or two, is getting kind of the envelope stabilized and getting some more permanent temporary heat in there. So that's the windows, the brickwork. I can elaborate on that if you'd like. So something that we could use.
It said
Yes.
permanent temporary heat,
That's
and I was trying to
correct.
put all your words together.
I'll get to that. So, so really, getting the envelope stable, right? Roof, windows, brickwork, and then we're going to need a more permanent solution for heat. But what I would anticipate, even if decisions haven't been made yet about what the inside of the building looks like, we have options for systems that are kind of expandable and modular. So that's what I mean by permanent temporary, whereas it will be money well spent, but we'd be able to move it and reconfigure it based upon the building build out, for example. So we wouldn't have to put $1 million into a heating system and then tear it back out once we figure out what we're going to do with the building, for example. So I think that approach will buy us another 3, 4, or 5 years. And by that point, you know, that we've bought 7 years or so. Hopefully we know what we want to do with the building at that point. So, so that's kind of where we are with Fairmount. It's stable for right now. In a year or two, we're going to have to do something to the outside of it and put some more money into it if that's the decision that the board wants to make.
So does that answer your question? That estimate, that's not in our 10-year, right? Because that's a separate project and it hasn't been determined what we're doing with the building. So that's what we want to make sure that you understand what is in this capital plan and what is not, because there's still a lot that's not.
Given that I've been hearing about plans for Fairmount Building or non-plans for Fairmount Building for close to 10 years, I'm glad to see a plan for Fairmount Building that looks like it's going to stabilize the building. So that's a nice step forward in my view.
Right. We can stabilize, we would need to stabilize, if we're going to keep the building, we're going to have to stabilize it here in the near future, and we can do that without really knowing what you want to do with it. But we can still do the outside and make sure that it's dry and has some conditioned space.
Yeah, and we've had programming and individuals and other people in that building. So while it may not be an elaborate and super accommodating space, the building has been maintained. So I just want to be careful about the words that you use. It's not that it hasn't been being maintained. It's, you know, just to be clear.
It has been minimally maintained. Okay, so going on to our current Park Forest Middle site, right? We hope to put up a brand new middle school across the street. And you know, we still have this 155,000 square foot building currently sitting there. There are some challenges with that. There's a sanitary main line that runs under the school that will have to be moved if you want to keep the building. I've already talked to UAJ about that, and we can reroute it around and basically abandon in place. There's also a 6-foot stormwater pipe that runs under the school, going to a basin that is not acceptable for the current site and demographics around. So there's a lot of stormwater challenges. As people probably know, it stays pretty wet out there. Now, some of that will actually be addressed with the new school, where the kind of defunct softball fields where like gym class goes, it stays pretty wet. We'll actually be able to get that dry with the new Park Forest Middle project. So yeah, so there's that. And then, you know, anything we do right now, we need to keep that front parking lot, as we alluded to earlier, of the 68 spaces, at least for right now. So I have asked that in our developers agreements that we put a statement in there that the township will entertain taking a look at that after 2 or 3 years of occupancy of the building. If we can show that those 68 parking spaces aren't not being utilized, that we may be able to actually remove that from the requirement, which gives us more flexibility for the site. So we did, I want to note as far as like if we wanted to raise the building, right, just take the whole thing down and start from scratch, those funds are in the 75 million or 74 and change on that 10-year capital plan. There is a line item in there.
Is that the 3.3 million? That's what I was wondering, because there's in 2030-31 there's like 3.3 million for Park Forest Middle, and
that's it.
Okay.
So, okay, that line item is to raise the building, take it down. We did look at just kind of at a very, very high level to see if it would fit and if the power requirements that we would need could be viable as far as the a transportation terminal on the site instead of the current Radio Park location. One of the things I know that the board has talked about in the past, back and forth with, electrification of the fleet. It doesn't just come with land that we need. There are also requirements from our West Penn Power Company where we need to have high voltage, ideally fairly close by, or else we pay to bring it in. We pay to bring it in regardless. The further away it is, it can get really expensive really fast. So it's also another consideration. So, but again, very high level as far as taking a look at that. The bus garage itself, now to go back to our current transportation terminal, the bus garage is in need of some work. I know that they're always tight on space out there. Employee parking is a challenge, as well as just Radio Park in general. The elementary school parking, is a challenge. We've been trying to find creative ways to help alleviate that. So, as we look at the bus garage, if we decide we want to keep it there, we're going to have to start putting some money into it. I don't have much money in that 10-year capital plan for it because I feel like it's one of these things where a major decision has to be made for us to even begin planning for it. So we have minimal investment in it in the 10-year plan. However, if we want to keep it there, it is possible. And we would basically have to, kind of go one bay at a time and, replace the thing. There's really no downtime. They can actually get busier over the summer. So it's tough to get in there like I would be in elementary school. So, and again, some rough order of magnitude costs. If we did want to move the transportation terminal out to Park Forest Middle, you're probably in that $10 to $20 million range. Again, very rough numbers at this point because we really don't know how intrusive the stormwater work would be at the site at this point. So we have not done any of that engineering, but we know it's expansive. So really, just to conclude here, again, we're at that current $2 to $3 million, $1.50 a square foot funding level currently. We can keep going at that. The schools that'll suffer as far as at least at a very minimum aesthetically will be the schools we talked about the Middle, probably first, Grays Woods, Easterly, and then PFE later on. And a lot of it has to do with just availability of HVAC equipment and parts that would actually look good in the space and fit in the space. So I know there's like some IT upgrades also. I don't want to speak for IT, but they've been going through some of the schools and doing some upgrades. And it would probably be beneficial to have some of that as well as you incorporate new casework and boards, to kind of bring standards up to some of our newer schools. So that $75 million compared to the $30 or $35 million we're currently working with over the 10 years, that's really bringing equity across the board. And then we start looking at a Fairmount overhaul, athletics, and getting into the old Park Forest site for something new. That $75 million over 10 years quickly goes to approximately $125 million. So, questions?
He tries to ignore me too. So I have a couple questions. Okay. In your memo, you wrote relatively small project at the current bus garage. Is that the line where you talk about taking little bits of it?
No,
Okay.
that's
What's
the
relatively
roof.
small?
The roof needs some
Just the
work, and we'll need some work, some gutters, and
Okay. The current Park Forest Middle School site. You said you wanted to put something in the Patton Township agreement about revisiting it in 2 to 3 years for parking. Is that to possibly change that over to the new to a bus depot space? Is that why you're
It would just
suggesting?
give us flexibility. So right now, we're setting it up so that those 68 spaces have to stay there no matter what we do, right? My point was, hey, you know, if we have data over 2 to 3 years that the space isn't being utilized for musicals or back to school nights, and we have enough spaces at the current site across the street, let's revisit it and see if we can't remove that obligation.
So in the summer, that the middle school parking lot gets used a lot for the pool. So we have swim meets, when the parking lot gets filled down they use that parking lot. What would happen then for parking? If it were to become a bus depot, would people still be able to park up there during the summer? Because you said it's still busy. Like it would be like, sometimes during the day on like a weekend, or during the week, but like at night, can it be used even though it's a bus depot?
Sure. I mean, we would take a look at kind of the whole approach there and see if there's a need to keep it. So let's say we revisited it with Patton Township and, 3 years after it's built and we say, look, this parking lot's not being utilized. Can we get it out of, as a requirement anyways, right? It doesn't mean we won't keep it or keep half of it or maybe move it, It just gives us more flexibility if we wanted to do something different there.
Yeah.
But if we needed parking for something else, we could obviously keep some parking there.
And I really, really appreciate the lines in here about the sanitation. My child was in the school. Our children were in the school when that happened last year. And then the stormwater, that hill going down towards the pool gets so flooded every time it pours. And I've been in that school at the end of the day where there's been some very heavy downpours, and kids can't exit certain doors because the water is pooling up back there. So I appreciate that I appreciate this entire document. I was reading this through and I was like, oh my gosh, the amount of time and effort and work is unbelievably appreciative, because your minds are amazing at what you can do, but then to see those little details too, I really appreciate them from being in these buildings and getting to see those things in action.
It is great reading material.
I spent a lot of time looking it over tonight. I was like, what questions can I bring to Mike? So thank you.
All right. Additional questions? Yeah, go ahead, Ann.
It's not really a question as much as I think a headline coming from this amazing, I'll echo what Rebecca said, presentation, because if we delay repairs, they're bigger, they're disruptive, and they're more expensive. And so your care and your tactical brilliance is going to save the district money overall. And so I just want to make sure that the public knows that your preventative is really an effort to make sure that those schools are not disrupted and that we are actually saving money because we're not having to scramble trying to fix something while students are in school. So I just want to thank you on behalf of us, but also on behalf of taxpayers, because your brilliance is going to help us.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
So just thinking about the overall financial commitments, and we're going to need to talk about how we're going to pay for the Park Forest Middle School project. And I know we've already talked about it some, but what combination of borrowing money versus using money in the Capital Reserve Fund? We have a pretty broad range of what these projects could cost. So I'm just trying to think of when we have to make the decisions. Like, do we need to decide about Fairmount and Community Field and the old Park Forest site so that as we're planning how we're going to pay for the new Park Forest site, we save more of that capital fund for these projects and borrow more? You see where I'm heading? So I'm just trying to figure out the domino effect and the timing of this decision-making.
Well, I'm just going to put it pretty bluntly.
Blunt is great.
These are big decisions.
I know.
I think the best thing to do is to not lock ourselves into extremes to give us flexibility. And that's what Joe and I have been trying to balance since he started here, quite honestly, is what is that right balance. But the more middle of the road we go, I think that will be better. We finished the year with more than $70 million last fiscal year, more than $70 million in the bank. That is essentially half of the cost of Park Forest. And that would be great to put that down and only borrow $70 million or so for the Park Forest building. That's going to save a lot of interest, and but then you lose that flexibility for other things. Keep in mind that the Fairmont decision, the bus garage decision, Park Forest Middle, and Community Field, those are all projects that you can borrow for in the future as well.
True.
So one of the things that we had to work through, sometimes Joe, sometimes me, is that we're probably not going to suggest a mistake unless we go an extreme one way or the other, because we have the potential of borrowing in the future. So even though that we don't necessarily want to do that, I think that the biggest decision in my mind, and you can differ with me and share as well, Joe, is making sure that we have the right amount of money available each year to fund what we're talking about tonight.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing. And then the others we can balance back and forth.
Okay.
I also think the sooner that we make these decisions, the better off we'll be. Because when you have a middle school project that's costing almost as much as your high school project over so many years, that's a big consideration
It is.
when doing these projects.
And Randy mentioned balance, and Anna emailed me last week, and we went back and forth a little bit with this. But balance is really a key that we're striving for. You know, you need teachers, you need people in here, you need people to, make the classrooms and the students go. You got a personnel cost you got to do. But these teachers cannot teach in buildings without roofs or good HVAC systems that are unsafe or not well maintained. And then on top of that, you got to deal with operating costs. You've got to run the buses to and from the schools and those students coming. You've got to have natural gas. You've got to pay, electricity. You got to have technology, connectivity, computers and those types of things for the kids to use. So really, it's about maintaining the balance within the budget in those, various parameters to make sure that, the teachers have an educational space necessary and an environment necessary to teach these students as best as possible.
Thanks.
I just want to note one more thing. I mentioned, the 10-year plan is set up such that, if we're going to do a refurbishment of the interior of these buildings, we would stage that over multiple summers. In the event where we had a flex space that you could actually move a whole school to, then I should note that type of work could be done much more economically at cost.
All right. Other comments? Feel good, a little maybe shell-shocked on the numbers, but that's okay. That's all right. It's a big number. All right. In that case, thank you for joining us and for providing that 10-year capital plan. Before we move on to Finance Committee, Board, do we need a break yet? We can wait a little while. It's a long agenda. Okay. All right. In that case, we'll move on to the Finance Committee. Mr. Brown and Mr. Vigileone will provide an update on the first half of the 25-26 budget year and the starting point for the 26-27 budget.
Okay. This presentation has been given the last couple of years, so we'll go through it fairly quickly, but we do have some new members of the board, so just to keep them up. The first one is what to expect when you're budgeting. We start out with the line item detail, function and account detail, and then moving into budget projections and summary. And in terms of the compilation of data, These are the significant steps in which we will go through to end up at the end of the day with a completed 2026-2027 budget. And you can see as we go through, this is sort of a timeline that moves forward from where we are now at the end of January when budgets are due into the accounting office to the beginning of June when you guys approve the 26-27 budget. So what are the key documents? Internal documents is the personnel budgeting module in our accounting system, detailed budgets for budget heads, position control and staffing reports so we know the number of employees and the full-time equivalents, our accounting system, as well as the projection master 10-year budget projections that we do and give out on a regular basis. I think you saw the first one of those in the December meeting. Board documents are that projection master spreadsheet, these presentations such as the one tonight, as well as a budget matrix spreadsheet, which I'll introduce a little bit later. Projection Master's goal is the longer-term view of the impact of the budget on the district's long-term financial viability. It shows the cause and effect relationships of the decisions that we're going to make, such as this capital plan that we were just talking about. The board presentations are just to keep you and the public up to date. And the budget matrix, which is shown, is an organized view of a function and account expense. Accounts are things such as salaries, services, supplies, charter school expense, and functions are instructional, special program, support services, and so on and so forth. Moving forward to a current year financial update, we've passed budget amendments in the amount of $300,000 this year, and we've changed the assumptions by about $2.5 million in a positive this year. Those were discussed a couple weeks ago at the, I think it was at the January 16th meeting, I want to say.
And just to use this as an educational opportunity, we've gotten some questions over the last couple of months about why do you do a budget amendment for certain things? We have to have an expenditure budget to be able to pay for a bill, to be able to expend money. Correspondingly, when you have a balanced budget or even an intentionally imbalanced budget, if we're going to get more revenue, then we want to use that revenue and align it with that expenditure that was not in the original budget. So that's why when these grants, new grant amounts come in or a new grant award comes in, there'll be a budget amendment in an equal amount for revenue and expenditure. When we're building the budget, as some of you may learn real quick, we don't always know what the state or federal allocations are going to be when that budget is passed in June. And so we get those updates, so then we'll want to make that change and through a budget amendment. So I just wanted to share that with you to help answer that question.
And this slide gives you an update of what occurs from the original budget to the amended budget to any changes in projections. So you can see we started out the year about $207.5 million in terms of revenues. And with the changes and everything, we're a little over $210 million. The following one for the 25-26 budget shows you the expenditure side of it. And you can see we started the year to $11.5 million, and right now, as we're amended, is to $11.8 million. So you see, even with a positive variance of the $2.5 million, expenditures still exceed slightly revenues at this point for the 25-26 years. Moving to the next slide is for 26-27. As you can see, this is basically starting off of the master budget projections that we had given you last year, and we're roughly about $214 million in revenues, and after utilization of fund balance, we're about $214.5 million in expenses. And then this gives you an update for where we're projecting the 26-27 fund balance to end up at the end of for each year, and unrestricted fund balance must remain under 8% by state law. So the 26-27 budget, the real estate tax rate, staff is recommending that the board focus on a 3.5% increase. The projections that we saw you with expenditures exceeding revenues were with a 3.5% tax increase. There is significant uncertainty surrounding federal and state funding. The federal funding, as we know, there were talks about pulling out in previous years some of the title funds, and on the state, they didn't pass the budget till November. I don't think that you can count on anything that's going on in that capacity until they can pass a budget on time. The need to onboard the debt costs associated with the district-wide facility master plan and Park Forest Middle School project. You saw the impact of those tonight. And then the projected fund balance cliff that needs to be managed prospectively rather than retroactively. If we're seeing it up there and if it gets closer or if we're already there, we're going to have a limited amount of means to impact that because the state with the Act 1 index allows us to only increase our budget on the local real estate tax rate by so much. So the next page is showing back, I believe, to the December meeting what the fund balance cliff looked like and the timing of it. The blue dotted line was a 0% increase in 26-27, and the orange line shows a 3.5% tax increase this year. So you can see just a 1 year difference, the systemic effect it has on our budget over a period of time. From there, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't have a question. But I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that with everything you've presented tonight, you've taken the time to go back to give refreshers and to point out, for people who are new, just to give us a little bit of an update. And all of your slides are really nice tonight. They're very flashy. They look really nice. But I just really...
Joe's.
I knew it. He's very flashy. Calm down, Joe. Your tie is very bright tonight. But I just appreciate that how much thought that you put into all of this and to be thinking of all of us as well.
Sure.
So thank you.
Joe deserves a pride coin, right?
I'll take one.
Questions?
I just was going to make one comment. I think as we move forward, it's, the challenges in this uncertainty that we're facing both with the routine lateness of the state budget, but it getting significantly later in recent years, and uncertainty at the federal level. Your point about the Act 1 index and how it constrains us, it makes it really challenging, and it's important for our community to understand that there's a compounding effect. So we learned that during COVID when we held taxes at a zero rate for 2 years. Then we had to make significant increases in property tax rates in order to modify that cliff that you described and showed, which is really our key metric that we've got to continue to look carefully at, because the speed at which that we can keep that from falling off is really, really critical. And every year's decision matters in terms of where that curve will go. And so we always want to minimize our burden on our taxpayers, always, 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 but we also want to be able to meet our students' needs, and we don't want to turn around in a matter of 5 or 10 years and find ourselves in dire circumstances where we can't deal with facilities needs and maintain a building, so that we don't hand over to our community a situation which, frankly, I know about a decade ago the board was handed, where multiple buildings were crumbling all simultaneously, and the physical environment was just simply unacceptable. We want to make sure that we're doing all that planning to do that, which I know that your team does, all of it, both you at the table and the rest of the team. So I really think it's just important for board members to understand that impact. Just a 0.5% difference in 1 year can change that curve pretty rapidly, and that's something that we have to be attending to. So thanks.
If I can say another form of balance that we try as your administrative team, especially in the finance world, to keep in mind is not only finding the balance of what is the right and acceptable and appropriate tax increase, but also what are the right and acceptable and appropriate dollars to recommend to spend each year. Tonight we spent a lot of time on facilities, and that's a large amount of our dollars, and it's going to be that, and that's a key component, because as Mr. Johnson said earlier, the longer we take to do certain things, the more expensive they become. And so just finding that balance of deferred maintenance capital projects. When are we going to do them? What can we put off? Those types of things. And that goes with a lot of other pieces of our puzzle. And we do try to not just nonchalantly say we need a tax increase and we need to go to the maximum. So I just wanted to share that.
Other questions or comments? All right. Well, in that case, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. We are going to move on to the, our next item is an update on the district's compensation committee. Mr. Brown, Mrs. Simpson, and Dr. Etter will provide this update for us. And just as a bit of context, we've the board has kind of had, or leadership has had some conversations with Mrs. Simpson in particular, and a little bit with Mr. Brown about making this an administrative committee rather than a board-focused committee. So that's why they're here to do this presentation. All right.
Go ahead.
Sure.
So we just wanted to provide a summary of the different conversations that have happened and how this has ebbed and flowed, and to provide a little bit of background of what we do to bring recommendations to you, how different salaries are recommended from, looking at experience and the position and the different ranges. And this is, keep in mind, this is a global look for all of the employees that are not covered by a bargaining unit association agreement. So that would be not only our Act 93 administrators, but our Act 93 managers and some of our other support staff, executive secretaries, assistants, and things that those are all the employee handbooks that you may have approved or that you may peruse under the HR report. So some of them have some different variations, but there's a lot of similarities as well in them. And so what we see this as being a committee, it's Michelle and I typically doing a lot of this work. We make recommendations to Mr. Johnson, but bringing in a board member for potentially for new hire conversations, as well as rewriting the handbooks as they become due, and then potentially any unique situations that may come up in our work.
And those of you that were on the board when we just revised 3 or so handbooks recently, that was the work that went into it from Randy's office and our office, and then shared with the Superintendent Johnson as well. We have another handbook that's going to expire June 30th, so we have a meeting set up with that group to start talking about that and see what the desires are from the group, and then we go from there.
Okay. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Scott? Okay. Comments? Go ahead.
I just have a question. Have we ever used the PSBA compensation strategy? And if so, how long ago? I just didn't know if that was ever a thing that we did.
Is that actually what we just got?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
we do. We do use that.
We do. We use that as a reference tool. The last time we did it was, I'm going to say 2023, I believe, when we did the last Act 93 administrative group agreement. And it's used to help with different components of the compensation package.
I figured we did. I just wanted to come.
You're fine.
Yeah, we're so great.
All right. Other questions? Comments? Go ahead, Deb.
So the last time we talked about the committee, there was sort of a list of times that the committee was planning to meet or something. Are those the same expected meeting frequency, or is this more of an as-needed thing? And like this memo talks about the process for developing the suggested salaries for new employees, but doesn't really speak to the process of, like, apparently we have a few people who are asking for a reevaluation of where they fall. So is the board member involved in that or not?
I had the impression that the board member was going to be involved in all aspects.
Okay.
And
I
to
did
the
too.
early part of your question or comment, there is an annual meeting and an as-needed component.
Okay. because it wasn't in this memo and the change in focus, I just was curious how much of the previous sort of timing was being carried forward. But this seems to make a lot of sense.
And again, please understand that it's not necessarily an intentional change in focus, but not all of the employee agreements have all of those same components and meeting necessities. So but it's a good question.
Thanks.
All right. I think the sort of the conversation that we've had that I've mostly communicated to the board, but I'll just say here, is that we would appoint one board member sort of as part of our annual reappointments, and it's essentially similar to how we appoint a representative to other committees or to, and so that would be one board member, and we would likely select an alternate. I think that's how we discussed it. So in that case, we will probably bring that. We're going to work with Dr. Lozon as well to identify what roles he'd like to fill in those annual appointments, and we'll probably bring this back for annual appointment as well. Okay. All right. Thanks very much. Very good. That concludes Finance Committee. Next, we have Policy Committee. Anne is going to be leading Policy Committee. At this point, Ms. Simpson is joining us at the table in case that we have some other clarification questions. Go ahead, Anne.
Great. So I am the person who leads the policy meeting. Ms. Simpson has been amazing, so we're just doing a little more of a tag team, and I'll lead, and then she can offer her expertise as she wants. So the following draft policies are being presented after having been reviewed and discussed at the Policy Development Committee December meeting. The first is Policy 140, Charter Schools. That's a revision. PSBA recommended significant changes from the original 2001 policy language. That original policy only briefly covered rights and responsibilities. There was a little bit of discussion. I know, Amy, you had a few comments, but I believe that they've been resolved.
About
There was one or two questions you had about the
those were the 223 and 224.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Okay, so if anyone else has other questions?
Okay.
Okay. 140.1 is participation in extracurricular activities, interscholastic athletics, and club sports by charter, cyber charter students. It's a new policy that represents issues related to laws and regulations, and so we needed a policy on the books. Any feedback on that? Questions?
That's good.
Okay.
Okay.
215 is promotion and retention. A new policy is intended to clarify authority and communicate current school operations. It should provide the district with guidance in order to monitor and promote, retain students. Any feedback on that? You look like you have a question, Aaron.
Yeah, so it's promotion and retention of students
Oh, yeah.
as opposed to, okay.
Yeah. It's a 200 series, sorry.
Right, yeah, no,
it's
that makes
pupils,
sense.
so
Okay.
does that help?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, now this is where we had Amy. So policy 223, student use of personalized motorized, non-motorized transportation. PSBA recommends creation of this new policy to clarify authority and communicate current school operations. So I want to raise that a discussion item specific to the first paragraph under authority. Amy made a suggestion you want to
Yeah, so I just, and I don't know why it didn't occur to me when I read this through for policy committee, but as I read it with fresh eyes later, it's a little bit semantics, but it states that students must be granted permission by the building principal to drive a motor vehicle on school grounds. And like, we don't actively monitor that. We have students that come and drive and maybe pick up a sibling or drive to after school events, but don't necessarily drive to school to park. And we don't have a process where we approve those students to do that. I think my understanding is the only process we have is to approve students to actually park on our grounds. Now, I know other motor vehicles like motorcycles or bicycles, those e-bikes, we usually also have, I think, a permitting process in order for them to retain their vehicles on the premises, but we don't actually monitor and approve each student to drive through the grounds. So I just kind of, it made me pause when we said that, because we don't actually grant permission
So we wondered if you
for them
could
to drive it, just to park it.
right, like particularly if it's a sibling picking up. So we wondered if it would be okay to just start with that second paragraph under authority. In permitting such use, the district places the safety.
Yeah, So that was the suggestion by Jeannie Andrews, was she's our policy kind of expert. She said, her thoughts were a little bit that first one. Although we'd have to double check about the citation that's there.
Yeah.
Could you repeat that, what you're proposing?
Yeah, so that the issue, you understand the issue? Yes. Okay, so then it would just be potentially deleting the first paragraph.
Okay.
But then we need to double check the.
Yeah, I think it might be simpler to just bring this, if this is not an urgent case one, maybe we just have that double checked and bring it at the next meeting.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah,
What do you think?
that's fine. I just wanted to raise the concern, and then, we can take this
Or
back.
if anybody saw something else.
Yeah, what do you think, Michelle? Is that okay? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
This might be a little 5 questions ago, but do parking lots count? Like when they refer to the school grounds, does that include the parking lots? Absolutely. Okay, thank you. Because on my first read, I was just thinking about like motorized scooters on campus as opposed to cars. So I just thank you for the clarification.
Agreed. And then I didn't know how to address that. Like, do we
want to just do a simple, say, instead of drive a motor vehicle, to park a motor vehicle on school grounds during school hours?
That would be potentially good.
Yeah, I think something in that realm would work. I just think based on the citation
They
that
have to get
PSBA used,
permission
I
to
just want us to
park
make sure that the
on school
citation doesn't
grounds
need to
during
be.
school hours.
Yeah.
We have a policy meeting in 2 weeks, so we could kind of just run it through the policy again and then bring it back. What do you think, Michelle?
I think if it's just a change in that one area.
Yeah, that was it.
That could be something that we could still, discuss at the beginning of the policy committee meeting and then just bring it back for approval next time if no one has any other issues.
Is that okay? Okay.
Sounds good.
Sorry, I didn't catch it the first time.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I appreciate your care. And the other is 224, care of school property. And that is a slight tweak in a sentence. Do you want to read that?
Yeah, it was just grammatically it didn't fit the two clauses. One was like in one tense and the other. So the first paragraph under authority, the district charges each student with participating in the proper care of district property and with being responsible. That phrasing is just slightly different. I forget what it was before. And will be responsible, maybe it said. It just didn't match. So there's no substantive change to the meaning of the paragraph. It was just made so that both clauses are using the same form of verb tense.
Yeah.
That's it. So it doesn't read precisely what we read through the very first time, but so that's why we just call your attention to that change.
But I feel like that is enough where we can just bring it. But we'll just run the other one through policy, if that's okay.
Yep.
Great.
Okay,
So those are our I and D items.
excellent. All right, thanks, Amy. Or, sorry, Anne. Thank you, Anne and Amy.
It's all
Thank
good.
you all.
Great.
Thanks, Michelle.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, Mrs. Simpson. The next item that we have in Policy Committee in 8B
This is a Welcoming Schools Board resolution. So this is something that I think previous leadership had started to work on. They have been partnered with administration to kind of bring this forward. So we're bringing this forward as a memorandum. The leadership to introduce the Welcoming Schools resolution for our consideration and ultimately our adoption, obviously not adoption this evening, but at a future meeting. So this draft resolution is shared following last year's signing of an MOU and careful consultation with the Penn State Dickinson Laws Center for Immigrants' Rights Clinic and Penn State's Center for Education and Civil Rights, CECR. So the draft resolution reaffirms the State College Area School District's commitment to our mission to ensuring that every student has opportunities to grow, thrive, and fulfill their potential through caring, responsive education in safe, welcoming, and inclusive learning environments. We brought this forward initially just so the board could have a discussion about, we have a draft resolution here that was shared out with the board. So I'm happy to open it up to comments. It is attached in a working draft of the Welcoming Schools resolution is attached here as well. So I know Anne and Amy in particular had some questions. I think Deb had worked on this as well. So did you want to?
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
So, well, first off, I want to say how much I deeply appreciate the expertise of Tanya Black and Christine Merritt for helping translate our policy into an accessible resolution. And so I do have some feedback, and it's only because I care deeply. And so I just want to offer a few 3 suggestions. I've written it out so I can be very time efficient, and I'm happy to share this with the board thereafter. So I appreciate how the resolution anchors the district's commitment in our mission, existing policy, and applicable law. My questions focus on whether we can strengthen it slightly by giving families and staff a clearer, more consistent understanding of what our protocols mean in practice. So my suggestions focus on 3 areas. The first is making the FERPA reference a little bit more explicit. The FERPA language in the 4th whereas clause is really important, and I think it might be helpful to spell it out a bit more clearly so families and staff understand what FERPA requires in practice. PSBA shared a PDE document related to immigration last April that might be useful for us to review. Based on my reading, the Reading Area School District resolution reflects that PDE guidance, and so they actually have a 1-sentence statement that operationalizes FERPA, which again, I will share with the board. The second point I want to make is providing clearer direction around protocols. Following the FERPA reference, the resolution appropriately notes the district has established protocols. It might be helpful to further specify the responsible authority for review so staff know exactly where to direct inquiries. The PDE guidance offers useful language. So that's basically if something happens, the staff person knows exactly who to go to so that all requests related to students' privacy, safety shall be directed to superintendent's office or a designee for review. And then my third kind of macro statement is I just want to affirm expectations around staff training and guidance. I'm not sure whether the resolution or a companion policy or an AR could explicitly affirm the district's commitment to periodic training and guidance. So that ensures that the staff understands what the protocols are. So again, it's 3 suggestions. 1, to make the FERPA reference more explicit. 2, to provide a little bit more explicit direction around protocols. And third, to affirm expectations around staff training and guidance. So again, I really appreciate the help we've gotten from Chris Merritt and Tonya Black to help us understand how our policies are already establishing inclusive education. And I'm very grateful for their work, and I will share these statements with you. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you. All right. Follow-up comments? Do you have anything you wanted to add?
I'd like to hear from other
Okay.
members if there are any other comments. If not,
Okay.
I'm happy to speak to some of my suggestions.
Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
I don't have specific suggestions, other than I feel like one word was repeated once, but I can email that in. In the second whereas, it says the Board of Directors created the policy to ensure that every school community member, 1, is treated with dignity, 2, has the opportunity to learn, work, interact, and socialize in physically, emotionally, and I feel like that's a redundant word, emotionally, intellectually safe. That just doesn't make sense to me, that phrase. So I'm assuming that the second emotionally wasn't supposed to be there. But anyway, that's really I appreciate the work that went into this. And it seems very thoughtful. And I especially appreciate, because I know this was something we discussed when we first talked about it, is that the language, although it's in the whereas language, it's a little more plain spoken than some of the more legalese resolutions we've had. And I think that's really important because some of the populations of students and families that we are targeting this, why it's really important that everyone understand it. We really want it to be accessible, I guess, plain spoken, so that people understand what it means and they don't just read past it and go, I don't understand. We really want all of our families to know that they are welcome and we value their contributions to our community. Thanks.
Thanks, Deb.
I emailed some small language corrections that apparently didn't get translated properly, but one of them I will kind of cite here. The first whereas, it says Constitution of the United States and Pennsylvania state laws. We actually swear an oath to the Pennsylvania state Constitution.
I have that noted as well.
Yeah, and there are a couple of others that I'll send back, and I'll get it in the right format because my comments apparently didn't translate properly. But other than that, it looks pretty good to me.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So this is my first resolution to work on, and I actually found that it could be a little bit more, could be worked a little bit more to make it even more easily understood. I find that sitting on the board and sitting with people, with admin, some of this sounds a little bit more legalese, and I feel like if we were working on passing this test to make sure that everyone off the street would be able to read this, it was the College Ave test to walk.
Allen Street.
Yeah, to be able to talk to anyone about this. I felt like this was a little bit hard to get through. So I made a bunch of suggestions. Should I go over them now, or is this something
So having done a couple of these, can I make some suggestions? So oftentimes it's hard to write at the table, and we can't write collaboratively ahead of time because that's not in the sunshine. So both with the development of the inclusive excellence policy itself and, for example, the anti-racism resolution, one or two board members were often designated as the writers or whatever, people to incorporate feedback and input and potentially put forth a second draft. So that's one approach to do it, especially if we would like to get this done in an expeditious manner, which I think many of us do. We've sometimes gone through policy committee in a more formal process, but if largely the spirit of the the content is agreed upon and largely there, then some people can try to massage some of the language and do some of that work, and then bring it forth at a future meeting for further evaluation discussion, and then potentially move forward. So that would be one suggestion I would have, to have one or two board members try to incorporate those things together. In terms of the things that I wanted to call attention to, one was also, as Jesse said, we swear to affirm the U.S. Constitution and the Pennsylvania State Commonwealth Constitution. I also kind of feel like it might be nice to include the fact that we are one of the few states that includes within our Constitution the right to an education. Not all states include the right to an education within their Constitution, nor is that part of our constitutional federal rights. I think this has got a tremendous amount of wonderful work in it. I understand there's a push-pull between wanting it to be very readable, but also it is really, really important that some of the very explicit legal parameters are clearly spelled out and defined there. And in that, my feedback would be a little bit some reorganization of some of the paragraphs. I think it's similar to the Reading's interpretation of the KIT. Their first several whereases are straight up the legal explicit rules about the fact that we swear that oath. We are legally bound to educate every student. That's one of the ones that we didn't include in here, that students have the FERPA rights. So it's a little hard. Like when I first read it, I was like, oh, I'm so happy we started with inclusive excellence, because we want to talk about how we want to be welcoming. But I also think the purpose of this document in particular is coming from our governing body, and it's important that we be very clear with our community that we have these legal obligations. And so I would suggest that articulating all of those legal obligations should come first, and then it should be followed by, and we carry those out through these policies that we have in our district, which include, anti-discrimination, anti-bullying, inclusive excellence, our mission statement, et cetera. And then typically our let it be resolved is now that we've articulated these things, what are we doing about it? What are we carrying forward? And I think that goes to Anne's point about a little more specificity about the protocols. I had actually also made note that in number 2 of the Be It Resolved, it states currently the board affirms the district's commitment to fostering welcoming environments in all schools and offices. And then use this phrase that support the diverse populations served. Personally, I think that's irrelevant. It doesn't matter how diverse or not diverse our population is. We are here to serve them. And so I have some suggestions that I could share in a potential draft that we are committed to fostering welcoming and inclusive environments in all our schools and offices. And then I would say we'd have like a and B category, and that's a place we can, to Anne's point, make comments that the board commits to supporting district efforts to proactively identify the unique needs that arise from a diverse and changing population that we serve, because our population has changed. I remember when I first became a board member, we had a very large Ukrainian and Russian population of English language learners, and that has gotten quite smaller in most recent years. We still have many, but not quite the sizable population we have. And so it's on us to be paying attention and anticipating and proactively identifying those needs. So that's something I think would be important to articulate. And then a subcategory of that would also be that we commit to providing the resources to train and equip our employees to meet said needs. So those are just the realm of some of the thoughts I had about how we can move forward. Also, the resolution one about safety following established protocols. I think we want to acknowledge that our protocols are always growing, evolving, and changing there as well. Would be another place to just kind of point out that we don't just set a protocol and then, never change it. As you said, every year we're looking at those, we're growing them, making them better, and we want our community to know that we're doing that. We're monitoring when things need to change and get better. So. Anyway, so those were some of my thoughts.
Okay. Then I had just a brief conversation with Anne the other night about the possibility of designating maybe a small working group, 2 or 3 board members who are particularly interested in working on
on some of the changes that it sounds like there is some work that can be done on this.
Well, yeah.
Some tweaks and changes.
Yeah, I think it's a really solid start.
Okay.
And following our conversation, I looked, policy 005 does say you can have a ad hoc committee or like a small group do that, so we're good.
Okay. So in that case, my suggestion, just from hearing conversation, is that we move forward potentially with, is there a group of people who, I would imagine Anne and Amy and Rebecca? We can maybe have the three of you if that sounds okay?
Perfect. Yeah.
All right, and then when you feel that it's reached a good point to bring back, we'll bring it back for discussion.
Well, and I actually also really appreciated the memo indicated that, I'm trying to find the memo, that CERC and CECR is willing to review, and their expertise is, do we have permission to work and then share it with them and then?
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure like I'm following the rules.
I would encourage you to get all the expertise you can find, for
Yeah,
sure.
and I want to. I know Alex Croswell's in the room as well, and I know that she shared with me. Speaking of what Rebecca highlighted, we have SCASD translators capable of translating this document in Arabic, Bengali, Chinese, Mandarin, Cantonese, Farsi, French. I mean, a bunch of different languages. So we do need it to be as kind of simple as possible, so we can reach our. Oh God, Chris! Yay, Chris! We can reach all of our students in all the different ways through posting it on Parent Square. Thank you so much for your work on this, Chris.
It was just a draft, so I'm glad
We're
that you're
grateful.
going to brush it up because it needs a little work. I did want to say that we have an MOU with CERC and CECR at Penn State, so we are absolutely fine to share that and all the confidentiality and all of that. So yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Great. Okay. Any other comments, or it sounds like we have a good path forward for this? Okay. Excellent. In that case, I think that brings us to the end of our committee of the whole portion of the meeting, believe it or not. And at this time, it seems like probably a good idea to take about a 5-minute break. We've been here for a while, so we will reconvene in 5 minutes.
Do we want to wait for them? You guys ready? Oh, God. Sorry. I'll rush you.
Because I agree with you.
All righty, we have everybody. We bring the meeting back into session. We will now move on to the consent agenda, which includes several items that we will address with a single motion for approval. To facilitate any questions or discussions, we'll go through each category individually. Please raise your hand if you need clarification of any of the items as I present each group. The first group is approval of the minutes, so board meeting minutes from the last two meetings. Clarifications? Nope. All right. Next, we have consent agenda for operations. We have some budget amendments in here, apartment lease renewal, treasurer's report, HR recommendations. Any questions or comments about? All right. Next, we have consent for instructional programs, student travel, and 2 foreign exchange agreements that should be provided to the board. Okay, very good. And the last one is consent for policies. Again, these are all policies that we have discussed at the board previously and are up for adoption now. All right. In that case, I'd like to call for a motion to approve the consent agenda, items 10 through 13 as presented.
Also moved.
All right. Is there a second?
Damaris.
All right. We have a motion, a second, and a third. Any additional questions or discussion? Is there any public comment about the consent agenda tonight or online? All right. Very well. Board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Consent agenda has passed. And now I need to turn the page. All right. Okay. Next, we'll move on to the action items portion of our agenda. The first action item we have is agenda item 14A, which is a motion to approve the low bid for Fairmount abatement. This is shown in attachment 14A. May I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion about this action item?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you already answered it, but just to make sure, you put in the in your note, ACM located in building areas will not require demolition to access. This was what you meant about like the company I'm sorry. Are you saying the company that you're using will not have to go through walls for asbestos? And this was part of what you talked about before about not going into walls, just doing what we can kind of see.
Correct.
Okay.
Until we know, like I said, what the plan might be for what walls we would take down and not take down.
Okay. Other questions? Necessary abatement? All right. Is there any public comment about this action item? All right. Seeing none. Board members in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. That motion carries. Agenda item 14B is a motion to approve a memorandum of understanding with Patton Township for the Park Forest Middle School project. This is shown in attachment 14B. May I have a motion?
Also moved.
All right.
Anderson, second.
A motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion about this action item? Rebecca, go ahead.
What will happen with the pedestrian cross light that's over there now that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't? Does that go away when all of this happens because we'll get the new signal, crosswalk signal?
It would go away, and I'll have to look to see who owns it. If we own it, we'll see about repurposing it.
Okay. And I drove that way to come here today. Is part of the light system going in, are lanes going to be added, or is it just going to still say single lanes there? Are there going to be turn lanes to
No,
go,
we are
or-
looking at turning lanes as well, and that hasn't been 100% finalized yet until the traffic impact study comes back. Yes, but we're confident that turning lanes will be going in.
And part of the light going in will have better signage coming, because a lot of people don't follow that speed limit coming down the hill to turn left onto Little Lion. Will there be a lot more signage
There will
and
be,
like flashing lights when it turns red or something similar to like let people know that up ahead you do need to stop?
There will be, yes, we will have something, and we're looking at, traffic calming measures as well.
Right. Speaking of traffic calming, the township supervisors are having a special meeting tomorrow to approve this MOU as well, because it is required for the submission to PennDOT, and we're trying to expedite that process so that we can get because until we find out if the traffic signal is approved or not, then there's steps with the township approval of the project that cannot take place. In addition, as Mike just mentioned, the township has asked the district to engage in traffic calming measures on that road. And I made no commitment other than to consider their proposal once they deliver it. So they have their traffic engineers working on a proposal that could include multiple options. Because there was also concern about the intersection at Amblewood. And since we're making the big change in the township, they're asking for the district to help out with those measures as well, in part by partnering. And I said, well, we need to understand what you're talking about. And they said that they were going to, like I said, have their engineers prepare some ideas and proposals, and they'll be presenting that to you all in the near future as well.
But you don't need us there tomorrow night for the special
No, it's
meeting?
tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. It's a special meeting.
Oh, well, by the time we leave here, we won't have had enough rest.
Other questions or comments? Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
I just wanted to point out, I had sent an email to Randy asking, and so for the benefit of the public, like this, maybe not the same type of formal agreement, but the same type of cost sharing that we would pay for the planning and the putting in of the signal, and eventually the township would take it over, was the same process that was used and the same cost sharing that was used when we put in the light on Westerly for the high school. So I think that's important for the public to know. There's sort of precedent to do it this way.
Right.
Okay. All right. Is there any public comment about this item? All right, seeing none. Board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. Agenda item 14C is a motion to approve a change order for the Mountaineer Elementary addition. This is shown in attachment 14C. May I have a motion?
Huff, so moved.
Anderson, second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion about this item? It's pretty straightforward. All right. In that case, is there any public comment about this item? Board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. Motion to approve. The agenda item 14D is a motion to approve the permission to bid the 2026-27 capital projects. This is shown in attachment 14D. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Anderson, second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion about this action item? Yeah, go ahead.
I did my homework. On the generator tie-ins, you said this scope is not finalized and may be reduced depending on the equipment availability. Can you just explain that just a teeny bit more?
So this is a multifaceted project. We're kind of lumping into one. It's a lot of little things that's both we need done and would allow us to keep kids in school longer. So the outage we had last year was 3-4 days. We brought generators in. Just the high school alone, it took 5 of us overnight to get it tied in. So part of this project is what we call it. They basically have equipment that would tie into your main switchgear and would have kind of cam lock fittings on the end. So you pull a generator in, you plug it in 10 minutes, you're up and running. So that's part of it. The lead time on that equipment is not an issue. However, part of the project also includes, we have what are called pressure switches, which are kind of like a main breaker at both North and Mount Nittany Middle. They are not used anymore. They're completely obsolete. You cannot get parts for them. And if one of those goes down, we would bring a generator in. So we're looking at kind of upgrading that equipment. That's where, okay, if we have to replace that with a main breaker, sometimes breakers, depending on, the voltage and amperage, can have a long lead time. So we may not be able to actually get it over the summer.
Okay. I have more questions. On the PFE parking lot upgrades, you talked about alternatives will be considered for improvements to the service driveway and wooded driveway as part of this phase. Are you talking about adding more parking spots
No,
along?
we are not talking about adding more parking spots.
Okay. That would be nice.
It's the project was getting pricey fast.
Okay.
That's why we're going to look at alternates to make sure that it fits within our capital expenditures. And may have to remove, some scope out of it. There are some ADA issues out there that we are kind of trying to take care of a small amount of them with this project, but then there will be a phase 2 where we will address all of them next year. But we're really trying to get the base work in for it and then kind of get them all addressed next year.
Because there's definitely not, in the front spots by the main entrance to the school, there's not enough parking. And I watched someone pull in today and put on their flashers in the handicap spot to pick up their kid, and it was like, okay. And the last thing is, I really appreciate, as my child is on a swim team in this town, that you are cognizant of the nanatorium's HVAC replacement and the upgrades there, because they swim at a pool where that is not regularly updated, and a lot of kids end up with breathing trouble. They don't swim at the high school, but they swim somewhere else, and a lot of kids end up with breathing problems because of this. And so I really appreciate how much you guys are putting thoughtful care into this for all of the kids that use it.
If we're going to keep the pool, we're going to have to keep it maintained.
That's right. All right. Other questions or comments? I'll just point out that this also includes the first of the playground upgrades that we've talked about before at Ferguson Township.
It is, and I should note, I got some information after this memo was put together, just so there's not some sticker shock, that estimate of $500,000 was probably going to be a little bit higher because of the stormwater. It's becoming a little bit more in depth than we originally thought after having talks with the township. So, just putting that out there so that someone can get back.
Do you want to define what a little bit higher means? By an order of
30 to 40%.
Okay.
Oh, percent. Okay.
Percent, exactly. That's
Sizable.
sizable. Thanks.
Okay. Good question. Other questions or comments? All right. In that case, is there any public comment about this item? In that case, board members in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? That motion carries. Agenda item 14E is a motion to approve the final design for the Park Forest Middle School project. This is shown in attachment 14E. May I have a motion?
Huff second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion about this, which we have been eagerly awaiting? Yeah, Deb.
Just a quick question on the timeline. In the memo, it says substantial completion 11/15/29. Is that supposed to be 11/15/28? Because then the expected occupancy is January 29.
That is a misprint.
Okay.
Catch.
I didn't catch it before, and then I was like, wait a minute. And that earlier
Falling down on
conversation.
the
It'll be
job.
done well
Sorry?
after they move.
Falling down on the job.
Yes.
Got it.
Got it now.
All right, other questions or comments? We got a budget presentation about this already. In that case, is there any public comment on this item? All right, board members in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Hooray. Agenda item 14F is a motion to approve the purchase of a vehicle for driver's education. This is shown in attachment 14F. May I have a motion?
Huff so moved.
All right, there is a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion about this item? All right, seeing none, is there any public comment about this item? All right, board members in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that item carries as well. All right. This concludes our agenda for this evening. Looking ahead to our future meetings, we have on February 4th. Sorry?
No, that's my fault. Can I do one tiny little communication?
Absolutely, please.
I apologize. I meant to mention at the beginning of the year. I just wanted to remark that February is the beginning of Black History Month, and we will be eagerly celebrating that in many ways throughout our district. And I just wanted to acknowledge that here at the board table tonight. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Amy. All right. In that case, looking ahead to future meetings, we have on February 4th, 2026, the SCASD Reads Board Conversation with the Community at 6 p.m. in the high school cafeteria. We're very excited about that event. On February 5th, 2026, there is a board work session with students in person at the high school Black Box. That starts at noon and goes through 2 p.m. On February 16th, 2026, we'll have our regular board meeting at 7 p.m. here in the Panorama Village Boardroom. On February 17th, in the morning, 10:30 in the morning, the 2026 Policy Development Committee will meet here in the Panorama Village Boardroom. And finally, on February 23rd, 2026, there will be a board work session on goals and priorities with administrators from the buildings. That will take place at 4 p.m. here in the Panorama Village Boardroom. At this time, I would like to adjourn the meeting of the State College Area School District Board of Directors to an executive session. Have a good evening, everyone.